Hello and welcome to the Sunday discussion with Houghton and Mackay. And this week we'll be looking at the arts, science and material innovation all combined into a triad for us to discuss as I join Emily Allen, one of the writers, on the show. Now, Emily has recently written a very good article and visited the Tate. There's an exhibition called Electric Dreams, Art and Tech Before the Age of the Internet. It's all about how artists envisage the future, exploring different colours and shapes, sounds, and of course material influence, with the birth of the digital age in mind as well. As we know, and those that weren't born of course in the 80s, there are a lot of digital influences in our historical journey with video games and those very psychedelic videos that we saw in early music videos. So Emily's spent a day at the Tate as a member of the press, exploring all of these artistic elements, and I have her on the show today. And hello Emily, welcome to the show.
Hi Karl, thank you for inviting me on.
You're very welcome. So what was your main idea before you entered the Tate on this day? What did you think that you were going to discover, and what kind of things were you looking for?
So, if I'm honest, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. The title of the exhibition alone was intriguing, the idea of art and dreams and throwing in electricity. But I knew from the preamble that the exhibition was about the origins of this sort of art. So I went in there with quite an open mind. I've seen quite a few exhibitions at the Tate, and each of them are as amazing and wonderful as the next. But with this one, I went in there still with quite an air of curiosity, not really sure what I would find. And what I did find was an absolutely amazing sort of collection of artworks, ranging from the big to the small, ranging from whole rooms, sort of individual pieces. I opened my article with the line, "Most art is meant to be seen, this is meant to be felt, heard and touched." And I really say that would epitomise what the exhibition was about. The idea that, art isn't just something on a wall, art is something you experience, art is something you hear and touch, and art is something you really immerse yourself in as well.
Superb. I think one of the main elements with all of these, and this has to be pointed out, it's an interactive exhibition where the participants can actually touch and feel the art pieces. Which one would you say had the most impact? And did you find yourself having epiphanies and emotions as a result of these?
I really did. Each sort of individual piece and definitely each room had a different sort of theme and a different feel to it. So one of the pieces that intrigued me the most was called the pool. And it was you went into a darkened room and you saw yourself on a screen, and you touched a screen in the small room, and outside a projector which would show a ripple of water. So very much it looked as though you'd actually sort of touched the pond and made the water move. But obviously, you didn't. It was just an illusion. But that was a very interesting piece because it really blurred the boundary between what you touch and the effect you have. So the idea was that you sort of see the effect of the impact of your sort of actions in the wider world. I thought that was a really lovely way of sort of encapsulating the piece. And there was one particular piece. It was a whole room piece. It was a sort of darkened room, and it had everything from sort of balloons to wooden crates to sort of lights. And you really sort of felt a different sense of yourself as you walked in there. The sound from outside disappeared, and you could sit and reflect. And sort of looking into what the artist put that piece together for, he said that he really wanted have a different idea of what consists of art, and different changing people's preconceptions of what art is essentially.
It's one of those. With all art, when we go in there, we look at these pieces, and it triggers a host of different emotions and experiences. And it's like a buffet of the mind. Can we say that? It's interesting to go there and try out all of these different things. Should we go over to your article? For those that are listening, Emily has written a very good article over on the magazine, and it's entitled "Electric Dreams: Art and Tech before the internet, and she's reviewed it here. Now, this is an exhibition that's going on from the 28th of November this year all the way, and there's several months left of this, until the 1st of June 2025, inviting viewers to contemplate the role of artificial intelligence. This is becoming a very, very key talking point for many, many people outside of the art world at the moment. And as you walk around, as you read the article, you can start to relate to it already. So it's very poignant. It's to do with the 80s and 90s, early art, but it's very, very relevant as well. Your article's interesting, and it triggers lots of different thoughts, even for those people that aren't there or aren't going to get to see the exhibition. There's a few examples of the art that's been lent to us on loan from the Tate, kindly from the Tate Media Centre. I have to say, the one that intrigued me the most is by the Japanese artist Yamaguchi, with the light set on the wall. Did you see that one as well? And what are your thoughts on that one? It's hard to remember them all, I guess.
No, I do remember this one. It was a particularly interesting exhibition. So it was actually sort of in the corner of a room with several other artworks, but it was actually the only piece that was lit up. Some of the other sort of exhibitions were, whirring and moving and generally doing their own thing. But this one had sort of the bright light, so that really sort of pulled my eye from the beginning. And I really liked this one. I sort of liked the positioning. And as you moved sort of before it sort of seemed to move as well. So again, it was just getting into that idea of, art is something sort of, you perceive, and art is something that changes as you look at it. So yeah, if you move from left to right, the exhibition appeared to move as well.
That's an interesting point, because as I look at the actual picture, and again, if the readers and viewers are looking at the art on the article as we talk, it does appear to tessellate, as you said, in a kind of way. The emotional person, wants us to kind of make it neat, but nothing lines up perfectly there. It's causing lots of different thoughts in that way. The bulbs inside illuminate. It could be an art about connecting the dots. It could be an art about realization and the human form within the digital age, perhaps. There's lots of different points that we could take from it as well, which is the point in itself. Individuality in the art, in the way we perceive and react to it. As you say in the article, in contrast to traditional exhibitions, many of the installations actively encourage the viewer to get tactically involved. And Liquid Views is one example, recreating the original piece by Monika Fleischmann and Wolfgang Strauss, who worked together to create a touchscreen mini camera effect. And as you mentioned, the digital water. Immersive is a key word in this entire exhibition, I imagine. And imagination's a key word as well. The combination of light, imagery, and were there anything that you had to tactically move or push or move around in order to make your way through it? Was there anything like that?
There were a few. So for the liquid one, you actually had to sort of press a button, sort of get the screen to light up. And it's that sort of very British way of, people aren't really used to interacting with art. So they're used to looking at art, sort of politely standing by it. And even though there was a button said push, people still weren't really doing it. So I had to be on the first to actually go forward and push it, and then sort of go with the art and sort of see it appear as it does. But there were several pieces of art where you had to put on headphones to listen. You had to sort of watch an installation of sort of pixels on a screen, and there was an accompanying soundtrack. And again, it's just that bit different to your traditional art gallery where you sort of stand and you observe. But here you're actually being engaged. People are saying, come, see, touch. It's that very sort of tactile way of art, appreciating art, that perhaps isn't something that's done awfully a lot in the sort of the UK in the traditional sort of art sense. But it's something that was really, really enlivening, really.
It's an interesting point, because we say traditional art. All art is traditional in its form, isn't it? Because they have their unique signature. Or maybe not so conversant in the art scene and learning would say they don't get it. They don't understand this kind of art. There's the catch-22, because if you look at a Monet, for example, or Dali, for example, that's hard to get, perhaps, looking at it in one sense. But this art, it's not supposed to have a central meaning. It's not supposed to be stating anything in particular that is one size fits all. The people fit the art that way round. And that's where it becomes unique for yourself. And therefore, you do get it. Therefore, you are part of it. And that's the beauty of it, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's very much the
It's very
idea
deep.
that, one person looking at an installation, completely different view of the next person. I think that's really lovely, the idea of interpretation in art.
Absolute. So thank you for that, Emily. It was a very good article. Again, I've said this a couple of times in the interview. If you haven't read the article, go over there. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a star button at the bottom, and if you like what Emily has written, then give her your vote. 7 people already have, and that's really supporting the columnists and writers that take part in the publication. So after the break, we're going to have a look at a couple more pieces from the magazine, and if you want to get there first, the titles are Expressionism, How the Colour Goes Before the Line, and the second one, final piece after the break, is To Paint is to Stop Painting. So we'll be having a very brief look at those after the break. I'll see you after the break, Emily. Thank you, and we'll come back in a moment.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome back to part 2, and we're going to be looking at a few more articles related to the arts over on the magazine. Again, the columnists work very hard to try and bring you articles and succeed that are very interesting, and we're covering the arts along with culture, music, lifestyle, literature, and all of those things that come under our 3 main headings. So, welcoming Emily back to the show. Hello again. Let's have a look at the first article, Expressionism rather, How the Colour Goes Before the Line. And this is written by one of our columnists whom is in China, who studied art in the UK to degree and MA level. It's an art that encapsulates emotion through freedom of expression, through subjective emotion. That ties into kind of what we've been talking about in the Tate exhibition, where we discussed the electrical art and pop art kind of vibe that was going on there. expressionist painting is unlike anything else in the visual universe. The goal of painting is to depict a conceptualized version and not one that we observe. Have you had a scan of that article as well? And what are your main thoughts on that? Can you see how it kind of draws together with the Tate thing?
So I think it really hits the nail on the head with that idea of art and expression of yourself. And sort of in art, you see so much of what sort of the artist feels in writing it. You get their and creating it, you get their emotion, you sort of get their thought process. But then again, when you look at a piece of art, how you sort of perceive it is up to you. And it's that sort of real idea of unifying sort of art and emotion, and sort of really showcasing how a sort of an artist can really change the world with their art. They can really sort of make people think differently or feel differently.
It's perfect. In the second half, just after the section where there are a few past articles, she says their expressionist art practice is not to convey a certain emotion, but to explore the uncertainty behind what seems to be ostensible. And that draws again with what we've said. There is no actual target, there is no actual focus apart from being, apart from exploring. And the confusion is the actual order in one sense. And that's the beauty of it, it's, at least for me. I like it very much. It's very deep,
Yeah,
and it can get very deep.
the top image in that.
Go on, after you, sorry.
No, I was just saying how the top image in that article really reminds me of Jackson Pollock. And again, it's that idea that sort of art is sort of really as of itself, but it's really in that style of sort of being subjective, and it really sort of exists for people to look at it and sort of really just enjoy it as a thing of itself.
Each shape in that art piece seems to correspond with each other. It's almost like a statement, a paragraph in visual and shape form. That's the nice thing there. Shall we go over to the final article and to look at to paint is to stop painting? This is around, the influence rather, is around traditional Chinese art, and in particular calligraphy, and the philosophy of yin and yang. Now, what we're doing here is drawing on the Taoist principle of balance, the yin yang symbol, many people will be familiar with. To paint is to stop painting. That means, once again, there has to be no objective apart from having no objective, and to make that journey of discovery as we go along. It's very successful in tapping into our concept of qi, or qi, or qi, as they say in China. And it gets very deep, this article does. The main idea is to make you think about the Tao and how it relates to art. Now, drawing back to the Tate, everyone, I would imagine, goes into there not knowing what they're going to understand, what they're going to receive. All of it is coming from within. The art is merely prompting them to have those reactions. What do you think of this one, Emily? What's your thoughts on this one?
So I like the idea of sort of the art being a vehicle as such, sort of like a conduit for so many emotions to be experienced by the viewer. I really like this article sort of focus on the idea of sort of having a blank sheet of paper, and through that sort of not creating art, you really get the idea of sort of your true self, and it's through that the art you then create comes. It's not sort of having a preconceived idea. It's this real idea of sort of just stopping and sort of letting sort of flow overcome you, and having that sort of understanding of you're not creating for a purpose, you're just creating for art, really. I think that's really lovely, especially with the idea we spoke about earlier of art meaning so many different things to so many different people.
It's a key point. There's almost a relative vibe here with the act of writing. Whereas if you think too hard, the writing doesn't happen. It has to flow. And art is similar. You're not actually creating anything apart from internal dialogue, emotion and reaction when you look at art. In writing, there has to be the words coming out. The art is like a brushstroke and it forms as you go along. There's the flow, there's the nice principle and the way of painting. So she's saying in the actual title there, coming out of the darkness into the unknown. There's the yin yang, there's the dark and light. It's perfect, absolutely perfect. Yeah, there we go. It's key, it's key. Okay, so that's been a rather deep discussion. It's been fun, hasn't it? Is there anything else you would like to say, Emily, before we...
Very much.
You okay? Yes. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We do have discussions every week or every couple of weeks on subjects to do with art, culture and wealth and lifestyle as well. If you want to take part, please get in touch with the magazine and we can have you on the show. Any subject is fine, providing it falls onto the 3 headings there that we've described. Similarly, if you want to take part as a writer in the magazine, do get in touch and we can have you on the show. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like the articles at the bottom and tune in next time. Thank you very much. Thank you, Emily, for taking part as well.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.